uses his body and catch radius good. I say he looks like Greg Olsen now.
All right, guys. We're back. We're here to talk about the San Francisco 49ers draft recap 2019. They had the second pick overall. Mr. Nick Bosa, defensive end from Ohio State, man. The most complete defensive end coming out. Tactician.
Technician. Uses his hands well, can play in the passing game, the run game, can slide inside. I think he's versatile. I think opposite of Dee Ford, that's the perfect match. These four are going to bring the speed. Nick Bosa is going to bring the power, and they're going to hunt quarterbacks, man. The 49ers allowed 35 touchdowns, 2 interceptions.
Just say 35 and 2.
35 and 2, y'all know what that is, man. So getting pressure up front is vital to this team, man, because they didn't add any cornerbacks of note in this draft.
No, they really didn't. I mean, I looked at the depth chart and I said, oh, that's right, they got Jason Verett. Is he going to be healthy?
He's going to be healthy. Richard Sherman getting older. Akila Witherspoon, Jimmy Ward didn't play well last season. So some holes over there, but Nick Bosa was the perfect pick to alleviate some of those concerns.
Yeah, man. I think we talked about it off air. You said you like to do what with the front four? Or you like your defense to do what?
I like to be able to get home with 4. Obviously you mix it up. You send blitzes, you bring the corners, you bring your linebackers, whatever the case may be. But if you're depending on the blitz in order to put pressure on your quarterback consistently, that's the only method that you have of getting pressure on the quarterback. You're going to have trouble. You're not going to beat the better quarterbacks. They're going to pick you apart. But the better quarterbacks, the elite quarterbacks, and the better teams, you're dealing with the Rams and the Seahawks. Now you're looking up at them. You have to be able to affect their quarterbacks. If you don't, you're not going to be successful. So, and then it's evident by the 35 and 2. So obviously the investment that they made in terms of trading a pick to acquire Dee Ford, paying him, since Kansas City decided to go in a different direction, invest in that second overall pick yet again along the defensive line. I know some people are like, well, what are the Niners doing? What's John Lynch doing? You can't win without that. Yeah. You haven't necessarily gotten it right yet. Yeah. I still hold out hope for Solomon Thomas, but I don't think many folks in the Bay Area are at this juncture. So, they're in a much better position in terms of being able to affect the passer with 4 now than they've been in the last couple of seasons.
And if you think about the 49ers defense, Robert Saleh, they run that cover 3s from the Seattle tree. So you have to get pressure with 4 because, you're playing a lot of zone coverage behind that.
It's not very complex. Yeah. You're not fooling anybody behind
you
that.
need speed and pressure.
Absolutely.
Going into the draft, or word is that, they had Quinn Williams and they had Nick Bosa. It's graded the exact same. Mm-hmm. So now you look at your roster and say, okay, do we need a defensive tackle or do we need, defensive end? Obviously, looking at 49ers, everybody, in the world understands and knows, okay, this team needs a defensive end. We got one on one side. Now we got the one on the other side. Now we're kind of complete and we can go to work. So, Nick Bosa.
And I'm anticipating, I think regionally, DeForest Buckner, I think people understand what he brings to the table. Mm-hmm. I think now that the teams are going to have to respect what's going on the edge, he's going to eat. I think he's going to clean up in the middle. With that being said, Nick Bosa is actually third-ranked prospect in the CPGM top 50. So, you're in that 2 hole. Again, Quinn Williams being number 1, you had a shot at him, but considering your roster construction, Bosa's the pick. It makes sense.
In the second round, with the 36th pick overall, they got Deebo Samuel, wide receiver out of South Carolina, man. When I think about it, I like the pick, man. Perfect. Could you imagine it in that Mike Shanahan offense? Kyle? Oh, it can be Mike. Kyle Shanahan offense, man.
Yeah, it's a perfect match, man. Before the draft, we did our little mock thing, and I was like, this just makes too much sense because the 49ers want to get the ball to the receivers, the yards after catch. That's what Deebo does well, man. He's a pit bull out there, man. He just plays with a different level of intensity. He's like a running back with the football once he gets it. Aggressive route runner, man. I love Deebo. He was my wide receiver too. That's how I had Deebo Samuel.
I kind of liken him to Sammy Watkins a little bit, but I know somebody over here don't like that.
Not quite as explosive
Not,
as
not,
Samuel.
not quite that, but ball in his hands.
Both have those injury concerns.
Yeah.
That's the only concern I have about Deebo.
Yeah, the injury concern definitely. You looked at the 49ers roster. We talked about on the defensive side, the biggest need was that pass rusher.
Yeah.
On the offensive side, the biggest need was another wide receiver because the offensive line straight. The offensive line is good. Straight.
That works.
The offensive line is bestial, actually. They have a plethora of running backs. They had some wide receiver 2s and 3s with Pettis and Goodwin. Now they added Deebo Samuel, and I think he could be a wide receiver 1 and be potentially the best receiver in this class.
In the third round,
High praise. Well, before you get to the third round, I do want to talk about, so obviously the 49ers have done a good job here over the last couple of seasons with the current regime, John Lynch, Kyle Shanahan, that battery, that brain trust in terms of putting weapons, building that offensive line, getting it solidified. They bring in Tevin Coleman to go with Breida. Not sure what's going to happen with Jerick McKinnon, but even if you keep all three, it's a good fit. Though their skill sets work very well with that zone scheme. You now are getting the guys on the outside. We love what they have in terms of George Kittle. My question.
Oh, here's the question.
My question. Should I save my question?
Let Niners Empire know your question.
Niners Empire.
Listen, you've paid Jimmy Garoppolo a lot of money, and I understand the going rate for quarterbacks in this day and age. But aside from the flashes, and they're legitimate flashes, there's reason to be excited. This man hasn't done anything. He hasn't done anything. I'm not saying he isn't capable of doing anything, but dude, we always talk about it. The best ability is availability. And in a league where quarterbacks are protected more than any other player on the field, this guy can't stay healthy. So with all the good things the 49ers are doing, with all of the pieces that they're putting in place to make this offense, and it's already a terrific scheme. You got an excellent play caller already in place. You have the horses, we believe, now to really make some noise. The trigger man has to stay healthy. He has to. And it's not a matter of, an offensive line allowing the quarterback to get his head beaten.
No, you got to protect himself.
You got to protect himself. So, I mean, to me, again, when we're talking about that NFC West, the 49ers from a talent on the roster perspective, as the Rams have to pay players, as Seattle gives, Russell Wilson that big money, some of that talent has now shifted. It's you can't keep everybody. You can't pay everybody. The Niners, with a plethora, a bevy of cap space, have now really made a push here. Garoppolo has to stay healthy.
Yeah, but you said all about Garoppolo, bro. But they got Mullen. They're good. You good.
Nick?
I like Nick.
Nick.
I like Nick. Don't get me wrong. I like Nick. But if this team is to make headway in this particular division,
he gotta be.
They gotta have Jimmy Garoppolo. Yeah. Because again, like I said, I understand the going rate for quarterbacks, but Jimmy Garoppolo has not shown me enough. What we have seen has been excellent.
Yeah. For
the most part, it's been excellent. But come on, man. I mean, this is year 3 of 5, basically. Year 3 of 5. Heather, you talked about it. The Shanahan Lynch battery. They probably have an additional year, assuming the defense doesn't necessarily take that step. They may be able to oust the defensive coordinator, and then, but at some point, Jimmy Garoppolo has to give you 16 games. He has to.
All right, man. Let's get back to it. Drafted another receiver.
Is he a receiver?
I don't. I got receiver / running back. I don't.
H-back.
I don't know. And Jalen Hurd from Baylor. Watching him, and he came on late for a lot of folks. They kind of, forgot about him, and then they found him. He's actually an improving receiver. Like, you can see that. And first of all, I never thought he was a running back. He ran like high like Eddie George, but not like Eddie George. But high like Eddie George.
6'5", man. You can't really.
No, you protect yourself. You're gonna get hurt. Period. He's evolving as a receiver, and in the third round, if you're evolving as a player, still learning the position, I don't know if you go there.
Yeah, I thought when you talked about it, I thought it was a luxury pick, man. Like we said, you need some DBs, you need some corners, man. Your cornerbacks he had 2 interceptions last season, man. I know they drafted some defensive line to help them out, but it's still a lack of talent at the cornerback position. So to get a luxury pick in a Jalen Hurd, I know Shanahan is creative. He's talking about putting him at tight end, running back, but
I don't know if that was a pick either, man. He did make a seamless transition to the wide receiver because I was like, yo, he looks like a decent wide receiver, you know, for being so inexperienced at it. But I don't know if this was a pick either, man. Not in love with it.
You know, you have to think about it from this perspective. I mean, it's credit to Jalen Hurd. Credit to Jalen Hurd.
Absolutely.
You know, his goal was to be a professional football player. You know what I mean? And he realized that it wasn't going to happen at the running back position. Although, you know, even though he didn't necessarily have the pad level and stuff, he was effective.
Yeah.
He still was effective.
Mm-hmm.
He's a terrific athlete. He's a terrific athlete, and the work ethic that it takes to transition from one position to the next. You have to think about it, though. You have to kind of put the whole context around it. You're playing at Baylor, so you're not necessarily running the full route tree.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? He's again. I'm sure he's developed way more than we had anticipated.
Yeah.
But certainly there's still a lot to learn. And again, when you're taking a developmental player, because that's what he is as a receiver, that early, when you have some glaring needs otherwise, it must have been they loved him. He was high on their board. You know what I mean? And they felt like we couldn't pass him up. Whether or not that works out remains to be seen. I'm trying to think in terms of, and you alluded to it, you know, you assume Shanahan will have, you know, a creative way to get him the football, whatever the case may be. But I mean, right now your stable is full at running back.
Yeah.
You've added quite a few receivers. Marquise Goodwin appears to still be part of the plans. Dante Pettis showed while healthy. All right, you bring in Deebo Samuels. You know what I mean? You know you got what you got at George Kittle. There's only one football. So to invest a third-round pick, that way it's questionable. Not the player, but the fit in terms of the team
And what they need, what
Absolutely.
they needed also. And I think, I'm not going to say best case scenario, but if you want to look at another situation, what Jalen Hurd could become is Cordero Patterson. You know, he was a returner, receiver. Patience put him in
He
that
was also
running back.
picked in the first round.
You know.
Cordero bounced around a little bit before, you know, they kind of found the niche for him. Is Jalen Hurd returning kicks for you? I don't know. Maybe, perhaps. I mean, you got Pettis and you have Deebo, who have that ability. So it remains to be seen. Again, I'm sure Shanahan, he has a plan for him, but at the end of the day, you're dealing with game script. You're dealing with can you actually stop the opposition defensively?
Yeah.
You know, or are there enough there's only one football at the end of the day. There's only one football.
With the next pick in the 4th round, 110th pick, your 49ers selected a punter. Mitch Wishnowksy.
Okay. Good job on
I
that
heard he
pronunciation.
the best punter in the class.
Yeah, that's fine, bro. But
You're not a fan of the pick?
not in the 4th round, bro.
No?
Field position?
Not in the 4th round. Not in the 4th round. Not in the 4th round. No.
It's an important phase of the game, man.
Bro.
It's an important phase of the game. If you get 15 years out of him, you know, and he's pinning that defense or pinning that offense, the opposition inside the 10, I mean,
What round?
nobody's going to think about that.
What round Shane Leckler got drafted?
I don't remember. That's a long time ago.
It was early.
Cole Quitt was what? 5th round? It's more recent.
Drew CPGM. Drew doesn't like it.
No. Listen. The oftentimes the third phase of the game gets overlooked.
Yardage, man.
Absolutely. I'm not going to try to make a case for the 4th round. I'm not going to try to make a case for the 4th round. But that's why John Lynch is making, you know, buku dollars or whatever the case may be. Apparently, he's the best punter in the class. So, you know, we'll see how that works out. Perhaps that helps that defense.
They could have drafted another corner. They still.
So let me.
I was trying to say it.
I was gonna say something, but I'm gonna wait till after this next pick. In the 5th round, 148th pick.
Okay.
They went and they got Dre Greenlaw, linebacker, Arkansas. Okay, so now so you went and you got Jalen Hurd luxury.
Mm-hmm.
Then you turn around and you got a punter.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a 49ers fan, okay?
You got Michael Smith, you got Fred Warner. Those are your
Those are your linebackers.
Yeah.
They brought in the big money guy from Tampa.
Kwon.
Mr.
They got
14.
Kwon in the middle, but I'm talking about the outside guys.
Okay.
This is a chase. This is a weak side linebacker.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So you went and got Jalen Hurd in the 3rd.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sitting on my Friday.
Yeah.
Okay, and you got me Deebo. Thank you, John Lynch. Handshake, hug, chest bump,
Mm-hmm.
high five, dab, all that. Then you got Jalen Hurd in the 3rd.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now I'm like, oh man, damn, we could have went corner. Okay, so I go to sleep. I wake up.
Yeah.
I do my thing, and at 12 o'clock? That's when the draft started on was it Saturday?
Yeah.
Okay, and
9 o'clock for you folks out there.
Yeah,
for
no,
your Niners fans.
sorry.
They had to wake up early for that one.
Yes. Okay. So I wake up. I'm excited, but at the same time, I'm a little disappointed that we got a receiver, but then we got another receiver.
Mm-hmm.
And the first pick on Saturday is a punter. Okay, so now in my mind, I'm mad because I'm like, who was on the board? We kind of other.
Sure.
Okay, we'll get some in the 5th round. We'll clean it up in the 5th round. We're gonna get a linebacker in the 5th round who, after looking at the tape,
He not it.
I don't know why. I don't, because if this is a smaller guy,
Sure.
okay, and it's essentially a safety converted to linebacker, and you can tell, and that's fine. You want to be, he's got to be lightning quick, weak side type of linebacker.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Passing lead,
but I mean, he's getting blown up, blown back. He's laying blocks. He's trying to go around blocks. Like, there's no grit. There's no
dog.
I'm not going to shed a block. Like, I don't even know how he's still in the field at Arkansas. He must have been the best weak side linebacker they had, bro. Because
he was probably the best special teamer they had.
Bro,
It's a guess. It's a guess. And like I said, I'm trying to spin it. But that pick, that day 3 pick, towards the top of the 4th round, you grab the punter.
Yes.
You grab Greenlaw, who's a chase and tackle guy. I imagine those are to bolster the 3rd phase of your team. Conceptually, that's the only thing I can come up with.
Like I don't know, and I'm not attacking this guy's
Heart. Cojones.
I was thinking cojones. I'm not attacking his cojones, but I don't know if your mentality can change from just playing special teams and turn into this other type of linebacker. Like, I don't see that happening. You know what I'm saying? Kwon can kind of push you that way because he talks the talk, he walks the walk, all that. But
yeah, I had that. He dealt with a lot of injuries also at Arkansas, so that's another knock. But I envision him, like you said, the 3rd phase of the game in special teams, sell packages on passing downs, because I don't think you're going to be able to hold up in the run game.
with the first of the 3 6th-round picks, the 49ers selected Kaden Smith, tight end out of Stanford. Big body, big target tight end.
Hey man, Stanford tight end, they got a good track record in the league. But this guy, he's not in and out. He's not gonna get much separation. He's more gonna use his body to catch passes. I think as a pass blocker, he's lacking. But what he does well is run block when he's on the move in space. Kind of fits what Kyle Shanahan wants to do in his zone blocking scheme. So I can see he's a backup right now. You got George Kittle, man, so he's not going to see much time on the field. But he's
special teams.
More special teams.
More special teams.
Field goals and punts.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's what day 3 was about, man.
Yo, I'm upset. With the second 6th-round pick, 183rd pick, I got it. They selected Justin Skule, offensive tackle out of Vanderbilt. Watching this guy, again, you talked about it, zone scheme kind of guy, side to side mover, not a guy who's going to be, moving statues, that are still not still. He's not doing any of that. He has to be on the move to be effective.
Scheme specific guy.
Yeah, he's a zone blocker. He has more technique and IQ over physicality.
That's what Shanahan's looking like.
A lot of experience at Vanderbilt.
Yep.
So
I think 25 starts over the last 2 seasons.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah.
The last pick the 49ers had in the 6th round, they had no 7th-round picks. They selected Tim Harris out of Virginia, cornerback. Is that?
There's a corner.
yeah, I got my corner, man. It fits the Shanahan or the cover 3 scheme. Long, athletic guy. Dealt with a lot of injuries in college, so he's a project as well, man. But he fits with what the 49ers are trying to do defensively.
And I think the 49ers, they made a shrewd gamble on Jason Verett. I think that's the ace in the hole.
Okay.
I think that's the ace in the hole. It's a gamble.
I can buy that.
It's a gamble, but they apparently were comfortable with his rehab, comfortable with his surgeries. I mean, we haven't seen Verett in 2 years play meaningful football. Prior to that, obviously he was ascending to be one of those guys, one of those better corners in the NFL. But we don't know ultimately what we're going to get from him. But it appears John Lynch and company, they feel comfortable with him, and that may explain why they didn't necessarily place an emphasis on cornerback in this particular draft class.
Yeah. Yeah, I can buy that. Okay, man. Yeah, I'm on board. I've jumped on board. I'm on board. Let us know if you're on board. How do you feel about John Lynch? How do you feel about this draft? There's a lot of people who pretty much they kind of it's killing them. It's killing them post draft. With the picks and the punter and all that stuff. But how do you feel about John Lynch? How do you feel about your team once more? Like, subscribe, comment. That is the San Francisco 49ers draft recap 2000.
Kane is in the building.